Hi, my name is Elijah Whitaker, and I'm the ZHU, or Houston RTech, Facility Engineer on the VATSIM network. Now today I'll be showing you our plentiful alias commands that we have available for our controllers after much request, since a lot of people are a little bit confused on how to use them. A lot of these will help you at any position on the RTech, but especially for those who like using PDCs or getting information about various procedures. I will not be covering every alias command in the text file, which you can use to reference in case you're confused on any of these. However, each major section will be covered so that you can apply these to other procedures. To start, I will be using VERAM for this lesson. This will almost all work with VSTARs, but there are a couple issues regarding VRC that you should take care of whenever you're trying to use these commands. Most notably, some of the ones that are affected will be involving drawing out things on the diagram or other things that may affect the scope itself. To start off with, make sure that on whatever client you're using, you do Control-S on VSTARs or VERAM, and make sure you have an aircraft select key set. Left menu for me means it's left alt, and that's what I recommend for anyone. However, you can put whatever you'd like to use here. On VRC, you can select an aircraft on a bunch of different ways, and it'll work the same way. Any command that involves targeting an aircraft will need to be used with this method. However, I'll show you some stuff that'll make it easier when you get closer to those. To start off with, we have procedures based on specific information regarding the I-90. What you can do is type out the name of the procedure, and there's a couple things you can do here. If you just type in the name of the SID or star plus the number, it won't work right now because the driller was just updated, but this will normally redirect you to the exact aeronav link for it. We also have a couple other ones that'll help you with information on it. These will not work with ERAM very nice due to how ERAM plots points out, but you can type .driller shortened, so this will be, oops, sorry, it doesn't need the second R. The first three letters, the number, CVF, and it won't work on here, but it will normally allow you to plot out all the points as if you were using .ff. The way the letter comes from, CVF, the first letter of the first transition. On the Driller 5 arrival, there are a bunch of different transitions, so if we change this to, for instance, DI, sorry, 2 letters, this will allow you to plot out the Driller 5 arrival from the diesel transition. That's where you get DI. The same thing we could do driller 5, and we could do oil. Again, it won't work because of issues with VERAM, but this will work on VRC especially. All these will apply to any star within the I-90 right now, and a couple exceptions for ones that are still being worked on. Excuse me. Next, we can move into information regarding departures. These are a lot more simple to use, and we'll show a quick example. Type in the full name of the procedure, DEP, and it'll put into your text window. Private message sent to ZHU-ISR or in-scope reference. Alexandria 2 is the name of the procedure. The type it is, a hybrid. All fields, obviously within the I-90. Cruise in 10 minutes is listed. The top altitude of the SID is 16,000, and an aircraft should be vectored to intercept Racine intersection. So since Alexandria is right here, obviously it'll take them northeast to Racine. All SIDs support this at any Houston airport right now that does have SIDs, so I'll give another example. On the MUGS 4 departure, it's a RNAV pilot nav SID. It is assigned to Houston Intercontinental only. Its cruise is in 10, its top altitude is 16, and its RNAV to TAPS. We can move a little bit more into SIDs themselves, such as .AEX2. Again, a couple of these need to be updated due to revision changes. But those will open the URL. You can also type .ax2.1 to open continued page 1. We also have other options if you want to plot out the points. These shouldn't be used just yet due to a couple issues that are popping up, but they will allow you to plot the points. All of these still work at Houston Hobby, so we'll skip this section. And if you're trying to reference the command as I go down the list, these are all going in order on the current ZHU-2105 alias. Next, we have approach fixes. Currently, these are only set for the I-90 field right now due to the excess that they have. And these can be simply typed as runway 27G. Oh, sorry. And it'll tell you the same error, but in a different way. There's too many fixes for this. Or, it's not allowing it due to numbers on here. If I typed dot runway, we'll say 09G. Won't work. You can type G for GLS, I for ILS, RZ for an RNAV Zulu, or Y for RNAV Yankee, and a couple other ones. Those are the main ones you'll probably be concerned about. Next, we have basic altimeter settings in case you don't want to do anything different. So for instance, if you need to tell an aircraft, say November 226 Bravo Tango, we'll give them College Station. These won't work for me right now because I'm on the Sweatbox, so they're causing a couple issues. But that one works. I don't know. Maybe College Station is down. But just typing in the 3-letter code will give the weather for it. Those aren't supported at all airports yet, but mainly all the ones you will need, such as Houston, New Orleans, Austin, Corpus, and San Antonio. A couple other ones. All the Charlies are supported on here. All the Bravos will obviously be supported, and a couple of the Deltas that get traffic. In the future, every airport that is towered will have all these such commands. Next, we have our approach or departure commands, which can be used for vectoring aircraft. It is definitely important that for these, you do select the aircraft so that they receive the instruction. Simply, we have TR for turn right, heading. We have TL. We have fly heading. .FH. And .PD. And we'll give proceed direct Laporte when able. Pretty simple. For altitudes, we have climb and maintain .cm. Climb and maintain flight level, so that's CMF versus .cm, and you don't need to specify FL here. And then vice versa, we have descend and maintain, and descend and maintain flight level. We also just have, if you want to be a little bit more simple, .m for maintain. Next, we have speeds, so you can say IS to increase speed to 180, ISM for increase Mach. I need to add the dot in front of that, but as you can see, you can put a Mach number in there. Vice versa, we have .rs to reduce knots, .rsm to reduce Mach. You can do .ms to maintain knots. Likely you won't need to do that unless you're giving an approach. .maintain Mach. Then we can do a couple of a little bit greater ones, such as maintain maximum forward airspeed. .mmf, Mike Foxtrot. Slowest practical will be Mike Sierra Papa. Not Minneapolis. We can do not exceed .dne, and then maintain or greater. So those are all the climb, vectoring, descent, and speeds that you can use. Next, we have cancellations. Cancel IFR can just be CIFR. We have cancel flight following, CFF. Cancel takeoff, CTOC. Cancel approach, CAC. Cancel crossing restriction, CCR. Then cancel altitude restriction, CAR. Oh, that one's got an issue with another command. That will be fixed in a second. Next we have transponder commands. Squawk altitude reporting, SQ-ALT. Stop squawking, SQ stop. That was weird. Oh, I spelled stop wrong. We can do .SQ, and that'll tell them to squawk whatever their assigned code is. SQI will be squawk code and ident, and then SQID is just the squawk ident. You also have squawk normal, SQN, and SQC will be the squawk Charlie. As you can see, a lot of these commands are based off the first letter being for something, the first or second letter being for something, and then adding the difference in the third, and so on. Now we have radar contact commands. So .RCL is radar contact lost. .RCE is radar contact at calibrated altitude, climb and maintain 3000. And then .RC is the simple one to do, so we can give him a fix that we can use to reference it. So 246 miles west of Alexandria. Now we have approach clearances, which these are the fun ones. So .CV is cleared visual. .CILS. .CVOR. .C localizer. .CNDB, if we even still have any of those. .C GPS. And then ones to use more for situational. .field. And that'll actually just go ahead and use their arrival airport. So make sure that's set correctly. Again, just type .field for that. You also have .PTAC-I. This will specifically give it for an ILS approach. So distance, you have to give the fix, the heading, or sorry, you give the direction, the heading, the altitude, and then the runway. Obviously that's not a legal one. Hopefully that one makes sense. I'll leave it there for a second. So PTAC for ILS, the fix, the heading direction, the heading, the altitude, the runway. You also, for field and site commands, have .PTAC, PTAC-V. They'll give the same information as .field. And then we have DVIA, descend via, and for example, we can say and it'll give them the altimeter of their arrival airport. Ground commands. These are the ones we'll probably use most often. .taxi, give them the runway, space, all your commands. THS will be taxi to hold short of something. So we can say runway, if we run, I don't know, New Orleans. Let's do that. Runway 20, and they should be taxiing via Sierra. What we'll even do, Golf, Sierra, hold short, 11. Or you could even say runway 11 if you want to type it out fully. .HP, hold position. .HS, hold short of runway 11. .cont, or C-O-N-T, or C-O-N-T, can't speak. Cross runway 11 and continue taxiing. .gate, .ramp, .park. These will be slightly updated in the future, but you can give the instructions using these. Tower commands. .cl, clear to land. Oh, sorry, you need to specify that. It'll give them the wind. At almost all these commands, unless it's mentioned otherwise, it'll give them the wind for whatever they're doing. Clear to land, same thing. A couple of these are still messed up with how they interpret things. CTOR, so this is cleared for takeoff, and the R is for RDAM, so to say at Houston. We can do .cto, and that just is a generic takeoff command. CTO, runway heading, or RH. 15 left. .ctor, oh sorry, .ctfh. I looked at the wrong command. That'll be your runway and your heading. .luaw, line up and wait, and you can specify the runway. .sidestep, or SS. Oops, I know why that one's overriding. That one, ignore that. That's something I need to fix on the side. That should be .sqs for that one. .ss will still be for sidestep once that's fixed. .co, clear for the option. .lt, make left traffic. And it'll always report the base to make it easier on you. And right traffic. We have our departure commands. .rcd, radar contact, climb and maintain the temp altitude. So if you have temp altitude set correctly, it'll put that on there. And then DEPA, clear direct. That one's probably the one you'll use more often. If you're just giving approach commands on the I-90, you can say .rw, runway 8 right. And you could also do .ATIS. Not show up. It's weird. We have handoff commands. These are the fun ones. .ho, and then the ID for whoever you're using it. So keep in mind, this is only the text one. You still have to hand off with your client. So say .ho GA. It'll put their position name like this, unless it's directly in the POF file, at which point it'll specify their name. Speaking of which, does that? I haven't tried this before. Nope, it doesn't. Oh, so the controller has to be online. .contact, same thing. .close. That's whenever you're closing. .leave. Tell an aircraft this, and you can specify direction here. The ones you'll probably use more often are these commands. So you can type the surrounding RTEX letter or identifier, .zfw, Fort Worth Center is not online. .zma, Miami Center is not online. And then for Mexican airspace, it'll be .mid or mty. Next, we have general clearances, so .cor, clearance on request. .caf, cleared as filed, maintain temp, and .ta. That's not how that should be, but I would not use these because we have dedicated commands to for each airport. But you have to actually type out their code here for some reason. .crv, clear to airport via radar vectors Tango 41. Release for departure. This is your departure release on the ground, and you can specify a time that the departure release is clearance void. So we'll say 1900. We have .amend. I have an amendment to your routing. ZHU, no SID. This one I had fun writing. Cleared to whatever via radar vectors, whatever, then it's filed. So you can say via radar vectors Alexandria, then it's filed, departure frequency, the frequency. So for now, if you do see any of these that are requiring you to put a number, that's just something else I have to go through and edit to couple these for copy and pasted from other commands. You should always, for departure frequencies, be typing something out like TA, and it'll put their frequency. We also have .pdc expect. That'll message an aircraft after PDC to expect 15 left. .pdc expect with the second P. That'll tell them advisory for push and start. Expect that runway. We also, and these will be touched on very loosely because you can use other commands in place of these. We have clearances for airports directly. I wouldn't use these unless you find something wrong with a PDC command, but these will put into chat whatever their clearance is. So SID, we'll use something besides Alexandria. We'll use the FLYZA. FLYZA, FLYZ, so ignore the fifth letter. The number, clear. Again, I wouldn't really use these. That's the, without the transition, you can also do .FLYZA 9, and if you want to clear them at anchor, AN. If you want to do it from KELP, KE, clear. Why does it say? Oh, that's a typo. That should say FLYZA. Those also work all at hobby. Again, when we get to PDCs, I would use those instead until these are a little bit more polished out. For Oceanic Commands, we have .PRF, position report. That tells an aircraft how to give a position report. And .LVR, leaving radar service area. Now we get to the fun PDC commands. So first you have .no PDC. That tells an aircraft, this airport does not support pre-departure clearances, contact me on 134.42 for clearance. We have, and then for PDC commands, you should be typing out the airport code, plus a second thing depending on the aircraft. If it's just your typical IFR jet, .pdc IH. And that'll give them pre-departure clearance, aircraft. Oh, that's their cruise. I haven't used these in a while because I just updated them. The type, the transponder, the code. So make sure you're assigning a code before you give a PDC. The routing, what they should be doing after departure. So maintaining 4000 intercon, departure frequency. If you're operating something besides departure, you would specify TA. Departure frequency 119.3. So again, that's just PDC airport, or AUS, or MSY. Now there's things you can add to that, so if you add a U at the end, departure offline. .PDC IAH Intercontinental has one specific where it's a Victor at the end, which was not updated when I put it in here. There we go. Let's climb via SID. PDC IAH. If you add a Papa at the end of it, that's the prop altitude. And you can do .PDC VFR, and it'll give them a maintain VFR clearance, assuming they want a VFR via PDC for whatever reason. In addition to VFR clearances, we do have a couple things. So .HOU Bravo, you can give HOU Bravo plus an altitude to maintain, so we'll say 2500. Clear to enter the Houston class Bravo airspace, maintain VFR, and all the relevant information. Same thing for MSY. Then a couple of other fun VFR clearances. We have .VFR-P, main VFR pattern, VFR class Bravo, CB, VFR-S, that's just the same thing as the Bravo one. .VFR-D, that'll be depart the Bravo airspace. VFR, we get some fun ones. Pattern J, remain within the Bravo. .VFR-SJ will be 5,500. And then depart Bravo airspace. If it's a J at the end, that indicates it's the jet pattern altitude. And we get into a couple other fun ones. So delivery readbacks. RBC, readback correct. .PBS, advise ready for taxi. .push G, contact. Oh, that's another one to fix. It'll say, contact this frequency for clearance. It's because I added the wrong number in. .push, that'll do. Interesting. That will give them readback correct. Why are these overwriting? That's odd. We'll get into those in a second. So we have .RPB, RBP, Romeo Bravo Papa Sierra, and that'll give them a runway in addition to that. If you are using VRC, it'll you can do this to put the current ATIS code. And then readback clearance void. Again, probably one of those that you want to use the other time. .CME, advise ready for taxi. H taxi will hand off for taxi, so say AG, or sorry, GA. .CUNI, no further services on this frequency. .EX is a simple expect runway for departure. And .EXP will message them the departure runway. A couple other ground commands that we have are .SQBAD, dot where dot wel, and sorry, specify right and say GA. T gate, so that's just A, B, C. It's another one where I need to correct it. Same thing of ramp, T ramp. We have dot hold P, if you want to use it that way, and dot cross. Oop, wrong button. We have a lot of tower commands that I'm not going to go over each one because a lot of the ones that we have are pretty redundant if you're running top-down, such as option. So for example, you can just do dot clear to land option. Oop, 5 left. A couple of these overwrite with how the alias is set up. So again, the ones that you see earlier are probably more efficient to use. .cwt, caution wait turbulence A320. .ga, go around. .ma, copy miss approach. And for .ma, you can specify a cardinal direction or a heading, so .ma in north, and specify an altitude of that. Oh, because, yeah. Again, just something else to polish out. .mah will be a heading. Oop. I keep reading all these backwards. .wells, same thing as the welcome command. And again, for a lot of these other ones, we'll be just kind of touching on them, since there's a lot of functionality behind a couple of these that are very dependent on what you want to do. This video is just to touch on the major ones. So we have dot radar departure, radar contact, say altitude. We have dot traffic, dot TARF, traffic 2 o'clock, 5 miles. Then we move into our miscellaneous commands, which here are the fun ones. Dot feedback. That messages the pilot if they want to do the feedback link. Dot roll. These are the important ones for communicating with other controllers. So ensure that you have the aircraft selected and you type in. I'm not going to message them, but because they're actually online. Type in the controller ID you want to send it to. So in this case, Waco ground. And you specify the runway. You have .rr for request release, same thing, GA, and 5 left. The departure controller can do .rls, TA, and you can specify a time, so 1844, and then RH will be runway heading. .rls is released, same thing. .ids will open the IDS system. .sby, standby. .csby, clearance standby. C, ready. Clearance is ready. No AVL, not available, so you can say it'll automatically put their cruise in, so you can say 3500 or 5500. Oh, he filed 55. But these will let you if they put the wrong altitude. And then we move into my favorite commands. Some people don't like them, but I think they're really useful. These are our slant commands. So these will tell you about an aircraft's information type. So type dot the word slant their type, so say Slant Zulu. Slant Zulu RVSM capable, they're RNAV without GNSS, and they have mode C. Slant Whiskey. DME. So these can be useful if you want to make sure they're on the correct equipment type. Then aircraft codes. These are pretty useful, I'd like to say. And this is where you saw a couple issues earlier because of aircraft types. So say we have an A310, and we want to know everything about him. His recat type is Charlie, he's a jet with 2 engines, and it's a heavy. Its SRS is 3. Or same runway separation. These have hopefully every aircraft that you would come across. Say, .C-150. A Cessna 150, recat 1, prop, small, SRS 1. We even have .Concorde. No, we don't. That one isn't working correctly. Just saw it in the alias. Well, that's a little bit embarrassing. I need to fix that one. But, so hopefully, B752. That should give you any information regarding an aircraft that you may not know anything about. And then if you're looking into recat, you will notice recat is written here. So say we have the 150, he's an I, and we want to depart him after the 75. You can say IBE. Oop, should probably type. And for these, you don't need to have the aircraft selected. You need 4 nautical miles for the I behind an E. And, you know, .ABA. No weight turbulence separation. So hopefully those are pretty easy for you. I think that they help out a lot. Some people say they don't. Then we move into a lot of the center and APP commands, which will be very useful for those who are sometimes forget procedures. For example, .BAY-C will open up the plate. Need to update a lot of these since the air rack changed. .BAY center. So this is for the Bay 3 arrival. RNAV, if it's RNAV, if it's runways 22 or 31 left or right, you should assign pucks 3. And then .BAY APP for approach tells them if they're landing 4, you vector to final at alley. If they're landing all the other runways, you vector at EMAR. Where these are really useful are ones like the H-Town. Actually, let me use .Zeek since that'll actually be useful. Zeek tells you if intercon is east, descend via the arrival. If intercon is west, put them on Gessner 7. Zeek tells you for approach. Aircraft should be assigned to runway 26 left unless otherwise needed, and then 26 right. At Hootie intersection, they're cleared for the ILS 26 right. For 26 left, at Boz, they're cleared ILS. At 27, at Celsic, cleared ILS 27. Hopefully, a lot of these will give flexibility so that you don't have to pour through charts in case you forget the fix. And other ones will be useful like this to tell you, if they're on the Gilco, they should be crossing at those altitudes. Gilco center. Assign Nancy if Houston's east. Assign Link if Houston's west, if they're GPS DME. These also exist for departures. They're not as useful, in my opinion. So for instance, if we have arrows delivery, say clearances, remember anything about it. Arrows 1, these need to be updated for the new Austin changes. It's for all runways. It's San Angelo transition. They should be maintaining 4,000. Cruise in 10 minutes is listed. The advertised departure frequency is 19.0. There are also PDC commands associated with SIDs like this. If you don't want to use PDC AUS. These will have more functionality built in later if you want to use them to say, expect vectors to this fix. But yeah, these exist all the way up. So if we have arrows ground, that's the preferred runway. Yeah, these need to be updated. Arrows tower. These are my favorite ones. It tells you on arrows, these are the headings that should be given. If they're in south, if you're in north, these are the headings that should be given. So I think people find these really useful because it gives you the heading right away instead of having to pour through the SOP. But you should still look at the SOP. Those are more approach commands. I did forget to go through one of these, which is... that's Alamo, whoops. I'll use the audad, for example. Putting a T in front of these commands, audad center, cross audad, at and maintain 11,000 to 50 knots, the New Orleans altimeter 3017. So instead of having to type out all that, .t audad center. And make sure you have an aircraft selected for that. And that is everything for the ZHU-Alias guide. Obviously, we did skip over a couple things, but almost everything that's been glossed over is covered underneath another section. If you're curious, you can always go look through the alias commands if you need to reference something. Additionally, a couple airports are temporarily removed from the alias. So, for example, I gave I'll even use Alamo. I can't spell Alamo. Alamo Tower. Runway heading for everything. Whereas if I do... I can't think of any SID now. You'll notice that El Loco isn't there for Houston. Those are in the process of being easier to use because prior to this, if it was a Houston airport, it would have to be specified like that, or HOU Beltway Tower. Likely that'll be how it continues. However, expect an update on Discord and through all the various sources for that. So a couple Houston airports are missing for those. If there's an airport that doesn't support PDCs that you find missing, let me know. Notably, the only ones that are in the alias directly are for New Orleans, Austin, Corpus, San Antonio, and both Houston airports, because I can't find any information regarding other airports supporting them. However, I'll probably add that in for all of our Charlies. There is a typical or generic PDC command too if you need to use it, .pdc, and that'll put in, let's see, we'll do 5,000 and the departure frequency. You do have to type a couple of these out, so that's why I don't recommend them. So hopefully that has helped you out with learning the ZHU-Alias guide. It's a lot of them. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to message me or check the alias command by doing Control F to make sure you're selecting it and typing it out correctly. But hopefully this has helped you out with that. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thanks. Have a good day.